This video is sponsored by Typhur. I may never use an offset smoker again. Today, I'm cooking this chuck roast like a brisket on a Weber Kettle using the snake method. And by the end of this cook, you might be questioning whether you need an offset smoker either. We're also going to find out why chuck roast might be one of the best brisket alternatives out there when you factor in price, flavor, and convenience, and why after this cook, I might start buying a whole lot less brisket. Welcome back to Backyard Pit Lab. I'm Jason, and let's get right into the cook. All right, today I'll be cooking this. Look at that. Pull apart. Oh man, chuck roast that I got from Costco. This is a pretty big one, $26.44. It looks like it is a 3.5 pounds. We'll see if it tastes like brisket. It has great marbling, I feel like. Look at that. That's a juicy piece of meat. As far as which presentation side, this one has divots here. I don't want the juices to kind of pull up in there, so I do want to use this as the presentation side. This is just 2 parts coarse ground black pepper and 1 part coarse kosher salt. Traditional Texas rub here. And that's it for the seasoning. We're just gonna let this sit overnight in the refrigerator on a wire rack so the air can circulate underneath it, as well dry brining it, letting the juices kind of reabsorb and hopefully creating that nice bark that I want out of a chuck roast, AKA the poor man's brisket. All right, it's time to set up the snake. Tonight, I'm experimenting with a hybrid 2x1 setup. The idea here is to cut back on some of the heat I normally get from my standard 2x2 snake while using more wood chunks at the beginning to give me that stronger smoke profile early in the cook. I'm also hoping that by using less charcoal, I can run the vents a little more open than I normally would with the 2x2 setup. With my usual setup, I'll sometimes finish the cook with only half the snake burned, so the experiment tonight is pretty simple. Can I use a smaller snake, give it more airflow, and get a slower, more complete burn all the way around the kettle while still holding the temperature where I want it? We'll see how it goes. With the snake set up, it's time to light it. I'm just placing a couple of lighter cubes right here at the start of the snake. Once those are lit, I'll give the first few briquettes some time to catch. While I'm waiting for the snake to get going, I'm gonna go ahead and place 2 temperature probes into the chuck roast. This portion of the video is sponsored by Typhur, and they did provide me with a single thermometer that I'm using in this cook. After using it, there are 3 things that stand out to me. First is the range. The St. Gold uses sub 1 gigahertz technology, giving it up to 3,000 feet of range unobstructed and up to 700 feet through walls and other obstacles. That's a pretty big deal because I've used other wireless thermometers that can lose signal pretty easily, especially once the meat gets wrapped in foil, like I did with the foil boat method in the chuck roast. With the St. Gold, I can move around the house and still keep track of the cook without constantly worrying about losing connection. Second, I really like the standalone base. You don't have to pull out your phone every time you want to check your temperatures, which is kind of nice. And the buttons are intuitive, it's easy to navigate, and you can control and monitor things right from the base. And third is the battery life. On this overnight chuck roast cook, I only use about 25% of the battery, which gives me a lot of confidence for long brisket, pork butt, or overnight cooks. If you want to check out the Typhur St. Gold, I'll have my links and discount code down in the description. You can also scan the QR codes provided on the screen here. Okay, so 1 for Amazon, 1 for Typhur, which I would suggest going on the Typhur website instead, because you can actually use 10% off with my code PITLAB10. Those are affiliate links, so if you purchase through them, I may earn a commission at no additional cost to you. Thanks Typhur for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to the cook. Once the snake is lit, it's time to get the chuck roast on. I like to place a water pan directly underneath the meat. It makes cleanup a lot easier by catching all those drippings, but it also adds some humidity inside the kettle. That little bit of moisture can help keep the surface of the chuck roast from drying out too quickly, and it also gives the smoke more opportunity to stick to the meat early in the cook. We're starting out the cook with vents fully open on the top and about halfway open on the bottom, halfway between this dot and this dot. It's reading at 250, but internally, with it rapidly climbing to 243 ambient temperature and 209 at the rate it's going, I'm gonna go ahead and make some adjustments to the vent settings. So first, I would like to make this from halfway open to about 1/4 of the way open there. Let's see. More like 1/8, I guess. Second is from it being wide open, just close this about halfway. That's it. We are 3 hours and 47 minutes into it. The internal temperature of the closest to the heat is 158 degrees. Ambient temperature is 301. Ambient temperature on the other side is 277. Internal temperature is 149. We're hitting through the stall pretty much on that one side. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip the chuck roast, but at the same time, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it as well. Once we open up the grill, there's gonna be a whole lot of oxygen. So I'm actually gonna close off the bottom vents right now before I do that. Before I open up the grill, I actually want you guys to see what I'm doing here. So I'm gonna put some beef tallow. That's where the chuck roast is gonna sit. Okay, let's see. It's looking great. The snake is all the way from here to just this part. So this is temperature probe 1, temperature probe 2. I'm just gonna go ahead and flip it, but also at the same time, that bark is not fully set yet. You have that deep red mahogany color. See that? I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it. Make sure you put the lid back on. Hopefully, we can kind of slow down that temperature a little bit. All right, so the beauty of the foil boat is that we're gonna continue to develop this crust, but prevent some of the edges from burning. Just gotta remember that this is temperature probe 1, probe 2, So now we have temperature probe 2 closest to the snake and temperature probe 1 very far away from the snake. I'm gonna go ahead and open up the vents again to very small amount at the bottom. In attempts to choke off the heat some more, I'm gonna close this off even further to about 1/4 of the way open, or 1/8 or 1/16 of the way open on the top as well. And I'll show you guys those settings here. That's fully open here. See that small amount of space here? All right, it's been 7 hours and 10 minutes. It is 5:15. That's the temperature on the phone. Let's check for probe tenderness. You start really checking at 195. I just know that the chuck roast is a little bit tougher. And so I like to go ahead and wait until it's 200, 205 before opening the lid and checking for probe tenderness. So the snake went from here to here. That last wood chunk is pretty much unused. Yeah, as I suspected, it's still pretty tough. That part is super soft right there. So I'm gonna actually open up the vents here. Fully open on the top and fully open on the bottom. So again, 7 hours and 10 minutes. This is the temperature. What, reading 204, 200. I just checked it for probe tenderness. It's still pretty tough. Ambient temperatures at what, 253 and 214. So I'm actually gonna bump up the temperature by opening up the vent settings to fully open on bottom and the top. So you can see opening up the vents has definitely allowed it to heat up some more. It's definitely probe tender. I'm gonna go ahead and pull it off. It's reading about 208, 202. And then I'm gonna close off the vents here to save the rest of this charcoal. Now it's going into the oven to rest until we're ready to eat. All right, it has been 6 hours and 40 minutes. This chuck roast, AKA the poor man's brisket, has been sitting in my oven at a resting temperature of 150 to 155. Thanks to Typhur again for sponsoring this video. I was able to monitor the temperature all night and even all morning long without even worrying about the battery and the signal level. I was able to go out to the library to go with my kids just to hang out, and was able to monitor the temperature and make sure that the resting oven was doing what it's supposed to be doing. Thanks again, Typhur, for sponsoring this video and providing me this thermometer. If you guys want to go check it out, links in the description, and you can also scan the QR code here. These are affiliate links, so you are supporting my channel when you buy these thermometers at no additional cost to you. So thanks, and let's dig into this chuck roast. That's the beauty of a foil boat. Of course, I'm gonna ruin all that bark anyway by putting some sauce, the drippings on there, but I am gonna go ahead and slice into it. I'm gonna bring the camera closer so you guys don't see me, but I'm just gonna be slicing it and taking a look at if it's a great brisket alternative for under $30. You know, I didn't really buy the hype of the chuck roast being a poor man's brisket, since it's actually more expensive than the brisket is per pound. However, when you calculate the trimmings of the brisket and having to like eat so many servings of it before you finish it, I think this might be a good alternative for me. If this is as good as a brisket and tastes as good as a brisket, this might be my go-to choice over a brisket, just for the fact that I don't have to eat so much and save so many leftovers, which is kind of a good thing for me. So. Oh yeah, this softens up the bark. Also just have that amazing look. Oh yeah, look at that smoke ring. That's perfect. It's just dripping. The thing about a chuck roast too is you don't have to do any trimming. Did not trim this piece at all. Does this count as burnt ends, I guess? There you have it, folks. Let's take one of these slices here. Look at that. Pull apart test. Pull apart. Oh man. All right, time for the official taste test. It's definitely like a brisket flat over a brisket point. It doesn't have as much that intramuscular fat that you have in a brisket point. But this is probably like the best brisket flat that I've tasted. It's so moist because I'm cooking just for this, not necessarily for two different muscle groups. So it's pretty straightforward. It's definitely got a beefier taste to it, but man, it is good. And it's not a whole lot, which is kind of a good thing, right? You don't want to spend $100. You want to spend $26 and get this and be done with it, you know, in 1 or 2 meals, and then it's pretty much on to the next meal, which, you know, can work for some, and sometimes when you're feeding a big party or a big family, go buy a brisket, right? But if you like a smaller portion size, you might want to go check out a chuck roast. This is great. Hey, thanks for watching the video. If you like it, please like it. Hype the video, especially if you're watching it within the first 7 days. That helps out my channel get broader reach, and so other people can know about this poor man's brisket. And subscribe to my channel for more cooks. If you want to check out my playlist that I've created, here's the best of Backyard Pit Lab. Or if you're feeling on the wild side, go check out what YouTube is recommending here. All right, I'm Jansen. This is Backyard Pit Lab, and I'll see you in the next cook.